Hey Bookaholics, and welcome back to another reading vlog. It is Monday, it is time for a new vlog. I was supposed to do one last week, but I will link the video where I discuss why that didn't happen. But I am continuing some series and I'm really excited about it, so let's just get on with this week's vlog. This week I am continuing 3 series, and then I am also just reading a novella because it works for my magical readathon prompts. I'll update you on magical readathon for each of the books because I can't remember off the top of my head, but I am reading How to Rule an Empire and Get Away with It. I am going into this very hesitantly because of issues that I had with the first book, which I'm sure I'll get into more when I actually get around to reading it, but I am cautiously going into this one. This is an epic adult fantasy, book 2 in the Siege series by KJ Parker. I'm also going to be reading Twin Landing by Rex Buck. This is a sci-fi and it is the second book in the Odyssey Earth series. And I am also going to be reading The Throne of Jade by Naomi Novik, which is the second book in the Temeraire series. And then finally for the novella, I'm hoping to read Final Girls by Myra Grant, which is a, I believe, speculative horror. So I have a lot of stuff that I am really looking forward to getting to, and then I have this one, which we'll see how it goes. But I will keep you posted as and when I read the books. I think I will do, as usual, like an initial thoughts when I'm about to start a book, and then a halfway point check-in, and then a final thoughts as I usually do. So yeah, I'm excited for the majority of these. What I'm most excited for is probably Throne of Jade, just because it is part of a read along that I'm having a really good time with. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this vlog. Hey vlog, and happy Tuesday. It's time for me to check in. I have started some of the things I said I was gonna start. So namely, I have started Twin Landing by Rex Buck, and it is continuing on from Orphan Planet, which I read last week. Obviously this is not an overly well-known series, so there's a limit to what I can say. I do find that the tone and pace are pretty consistent from one book to another. I'm not really at a point in the book yet where I'm like, oh my god, yes, like I cannot wait to continue. And just at the typical at the beginning of a book where you're just, for people I think who haven't binge read them, they can refamiliarize themselves and also potentially setting up the trajectory of this sequel. So it's fine so far, like I'm doing well. I am enjoying it. As I said, it's nice and consistent, but not anything that is overwhelming yet. I will hopefully continue to read some at lunchtime later. The other one that I am currently reading is, of course, the second Temeraire book by Naomi Novik, which is Throne of Jade. And yesterday I read the first 3 chapters, and because it's like 3 chapters a day, the way it's divided up on Discord. I can't say I have a huge amount to say about those first 3 chapters. Like, I haven't posted anything on the Discord from when I read this yesterday. I am hoping to settle down and read some more of this soon. I might read it tonight. I didn't actually read anything this morning. I normally read in the mornings, but I not overslept, but it took me longer than usual to kind of like get up and find the motivation to get out of bed this morning. I was just really tired. I couldn't focus, so I basically just watched YouTube videos to wake up this morning once the kids went to school. So I haven't read anything this morning, and I have kind of been missing having something to read at night. And as I said, I've been reading Twin Landing at lunchtime, so I'll potentially read today's section tonight instead of throughout the day, and then maybe go back to reading it in the mornings. I don't know, but I'm working my way through, which is the good thing, and I am having a good time reading it. I love this world. I love these characters so flipping much. Will and Tamara are 2 of the best characters that I have read. I love them so much, and even though I only gave Tamara 4 stars instead of 5, the first book in the series, it was because of the plot. It was one of those books that is very much a setup book, and it felt deliberate. It wasn't at any point like, oh, it's just missing plot because she took too long to set things up, or you could tell it was deliberately getting you ready for everything that's to come in this 9-book series. So I'm really excited to see the trajectory of this, and to see, for once I'm actually hoping there are more action scenes, because I think it's super well done and super innovative, and I'm really hoping to actually get like into some deeper plot. And obviously the main thing I'm here for are the characters, which is already pulling through. So yeah, so far having a really good time, super glad to be reading it, and I'm hoping that I'll actually have some more cohesive thoughts to talk about the next couple chapters. Yeah, so that's where I'm at, 2 books in. I haven't started the KJ Parker one yet. I don't know if I'll read it over the weekend or once I finish one of these books. I don't know. I'm less motivated to read it now because of my issues with the first book, so I guess we'll see. But yeah, that's where I'm at the minute. It's not even that far into the month. I keep feeling like it's, nearing the end of the month, and it's really not. It's because I've been making like appointments for next week, and obviously next week is like the latter half of the month then. So I've been making appointments for next week, making plans for things over the week, and all of the things that I have been talking about with people, about organizing things, about getting together with people, about sleepovers for my kids, things to do with the school with my kids. It's all like for next week or the following week, so I keep thinking there's less of the month left than there actually is. So yeah, but I'm gonna go tidy my bedroom, see if that can help. I'm in a bit of a mental health dip. I'm not really sure why, which is really annoying. Like, at least when I know why, even if I can't do anything about it, at least I can like avoid things that will make me feel worse. I can process it, but I am really fatigued all of the time. I feel more prone to migraines at the minute. I've been getting through my meds a lot more than usual. Thankfully, I am now on meds that work. Over last year, I was on meds that were making me feel really sick. So I had to keep choosing between putting up with a migraine or putting up with nausea. Like, I had to basically choose one or the other, which was not great. I am on meds that actually do work now, which is amazing. I have 2 different types of meds as well. I have like my standard preventative, I can start to feel signs that I'm going to get a migraine. And then I also have crisis meds, which is basically like once I am in the middle of a migraine, it will ease it off. Mostly what it does is render me unconscious. When you're in the middle of a migraine, that's kind of the only thing that helps me. I know it works differently for different people, but my preventative meds are really helpful. So basically it's just crisis mode. I only need, so sometimes what will happen is I will start to get a migraine in my sleep, and then I will wake up and I am already in crisis mode. So I've already got a full-on migraine. So like opening my eyes when I wake up, even the tiniest light feels like I'm being stabbed in the eyeball. And that's when I need my crisis mode meds. I have meds that work, but yeah, at the minute I'm more prone to the migraine, so I'm having to take the meds more. I am feeling really fatigued at the moment all of the time, which then makes me not very motivated to do things. And I don't know why, because I'm in a good place, like socially, I suppose. Like, my life is in a good place. Like, I don't have anything that is particularly going to be causing me any anxiety. Again, I don't have any like doctor's appointments or anything coming up that would be causing any kind of medical anxiety. I have no idea why my mental health is a bit funky. I appreciate that sometimes that's just is how mental health works, right? But yeah, I'm not feeling it. I'm feeling really tired. I always try and get out of mental health funks by doing small things. So I'm hoping that if I go do just like a nice big tidy up of my bedroom and declutter my space a bit, I will feel a bit better. But I'm at that point where I'm like beating myself up because I'm not doing enough. So I feel like potentially doing something small will help. I'm hoping that I can drag myself out of this funk sometime soon. Going shopping on the weekend, so hopefully that will make me feel better. We'll see how I manage it. It's one of those things, not much anyone can do about it, especially me, but I can try. Hey vlog, and happy Wednesday. I was about to go sit down and start reading more Throne of Jade and realize that because I didn't read it in the morning yesterday, I actually haven't updated you on the next 3 chapters that I read. I do need to go still update the Discord. I've been putting post-it notes in my book to kind of keep track of it instead. It's what I normally do when I'm buddy reading. So I just need to go update the Discord with my thoughts. But we are in a very interesting position in this one, and I didn't have very much to say in the last one because in the last update because I really don't know how to talk about this one in a spoiler-free way. And normally at the beginning of a book you kind of at least have a semblance of something to say that doesn't spoil the last book, but this entire book is completely centered on a reveal that we get at the very end of book 1, and I couldn't really say much as to pacing or plotting or anything yet because we were in a situation that was quite stagnant, and not in a bad way. In this, we have this back and forth that is happening that needs resolution before the plot can go anywhere. There was really not anything I could talk about in those first 3 chapters with you guys at all. However, I am now a little bit further in. I am on page 155. The pacing in this one is still nice and gentle, but there is a much more decisive objective. I don't know if there's necessarily more of a plot than in the first book, but there is definitely an objective. In the first book, it is getting to know the characters, it's a training session, it's incorporating Temeraire into this world, and there's only kind of really one mystery, and then there's only one conflict, which is of course the Napoleonic Wars. There's not a huge amount that goes on in book 1. This one, it does have a very clear objective of where the story is going and what the intent behind it is. One, it's a very anger-inducing start to the book, and I don't mean that in like it's anything wrong with the book. It's very deliberate. You are supposed to be angry. I'm really enjoying reading the way that Lawrence handles these situations. There's a limit to how much I can say here, but I really love the way that Lawrence handles situations. In the live stream that I did with Eleanor, I will leave it linked in the description, we talked about the fact that one of the things that I love the most about Lawrence as a protagonist is that he is someone who is more mature, and he is someone who then makes rational decisions that not necessarily without conflict, because he is definitely confronting habits of the aerial corps that he is part of, but he is very much someone who is doing so out of rationality, out of morality. His objections come from a place of having been raised differently and him being able to see the flaws in a system that very much have throughout history, slowly but surely created mannerisms that people are raised in, and therefore they know no different, and it's just his outsider perspective, which is really good. So you have this mature, sensible protagonist, which you just don't normally have, especially in like Dragon Rider fantasy, because you normally have this young kid who gets paired off with a dragon instead of a fully grown man. So I'm really, really loving that about this, and therefore having this calm, well, not necessarily calm, but this mature and this sensible and this reasonable man who cares an awful lot about his dragon and his country, and he is just a really, really easy character to root for because he is someone who you admire. You admire Lawrence, and I really, really like that. I'm having a really good time still continuing on with this series. I'm really looking forward to see where it goes. We've got some new characters. We've got a slightly different setup in this one as well, but we've still got all of the old faces that we love, both Lawrence's crew and then some of the higher ups as well. We have a new somewhat villainous character that is just like the annoying, irksome type of villain, and then we have someone who at the moment I don't know if they're going to be the villain or if in the end it's going to turn itself around, but at the minute we have this character that you very, very, very clearly do not like. So yeah, I am having a good time with it, and I am looking forward to reading the next section, which is chapters 7 through 10. I'm gonna go sit down and do a bit of reading now. I'll probably just read a chapter or so with my coffee and then actually get on with my day, and I will probably give you an update on what I've read of this later on. Before I get into continuing reading that though, I will update you on the fact that I did also continue reading Twin Landing at lunchtime yesterday, and this is definitely a much more, so in the first book of this series it's an awful lot of just like, can they accomplish something in the long run, will it work out? In this book it's a much more immediate threat, a much more immediate problem that needs a much more immediate resolution, and I really like that as well, that we've shifted the type of dynamic of the book from one to another, so the humor still permeates, the characters are still awesome. We have this character who is very much almost like a father figure to kind of everyone that is on the ship, and I really like that. So there's an awful lot that's going on that I really enjoy about this series so far that has permeated from one book to another. But as I said, the actual dynamic of the plot has changed, and therefore the threats feeling more imminent make it feel more tense, but the humor still laces everything about this book, and it's really, really well executed, that combination of tension and humor, and I really like it. So far I'm having a good reading week. I am on track to be finished with Twin Landing on Friday, and this one on, I think I finished Saturday because of the chapter breakups, because I'm doing the same structure that we follow on Discord, which leaves me with reading Final Girls and possibly How to Rule an Empire and Get Away with It over the weekend. So I am on track. Vlog. It is Thursday. It's an update on the go kind of day because I'm cooking, because I have terrible time management skills. Actually, I've been very busy this morning. I've gotten a lot done, but it does mean that I am now updating you while I cook. So if I end up leading to that, I'm blaming you guys. But I figured I would first update you on Twin Landing, which I am having an immensely good time with. It's definitely a pacier book, and as I think I said in the previous update, it's definitely got a lot more tension and thrill to it than the previous one. I liked the first one, so it's not like it's that this is necessarily better. It's just that it's one of those that I think the first book very much sets out like the big picture, and then this one is not necessarily a small picture, but it's just, as I said in the previous update, it's a more imminent issue, a more pressing matter than kind of like the longer game. So the first book is kind of about all of the things that are going to happen in their future, like for their lives, the purpose of their voyage, etc. And then this one, it's more, there is something happening right now. So naturally the tension in this one is higher and the intrigue is higher because everything is just that little bit more pressing, that little bit more urgent. It's a more compelling read. And again, not that there's any fault with the previous one. You needed the previous one to set everything up. But this one, obviously, is just quicker to get through and it's more digestible. I should be done with it soon, which is great as it currently stands. Definitely gonna be done with it tomorrow. I might read some more now at lunch and then might read some more tomorrow, but I think I'm nearly done with it. I don't think I've got much left. I'm reading it on Kindle, so I always find it harder to tell how much I've got left, but I don't think I have much left, which is great because then that means that I have finished yet another magical readathon prompt, which is what I'm here for. Literally, the entire purpose of April is magical readathon. So things are going well with that one. Then also I have of course been continuing to read Throne of Jade. I am now on page 236, so I have read Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday's parts. Actually, I think I left off where I was kind of talking about how I really like Lawrence's decision making process, and there is something that happens at the end of the chapter that I read Tuesday that actually had an interest, that had follow through that I wasn't expecting in the next chapter, in the stuff that I read yesterday. And that was really interesting to me because it's not that Lawrence is being unreasonable, but he is someone who normally has such a understanding disposition, such a kind disposition. But at the end of the day, he is also a military man. Therefore, within the military, like, he still has to pull rank, he still has to tell people what to do, he has to discipline people. And there was follow through on something that I wasn't expecting. I thought that he would find a way for it to not go down the way it did, but he just followed it through. And I found that surprising. Not necessarily completely out of character, but I thought there would be a different resolution to it than there was. That being said, I am really liking the dynamics that we have in this one between Lawrence and then this new character that we have, who at the moment is not 100% villainous, but you don't like him. And I'm really liking the dynamic that's happening between them and the discussions that are happening between them. The themes in this one are also really, really interesting. We do have themes of passive colonialism, especially in East Asia, and it has a really interesting discussion around that in one of the sections that I read yesterday that I thought was really, really well done, because it kind of talks about the difference in culture and accepting different cultures, and it has this kind of like the idea of British imperialism, where the British will go to a country and want all of their resources, but then not interact with their culture, not interact, like even countries that they are trading with, not ones that they have colonized, the way they will trade is very much like, you adopt my customs, I will only trade with you if things are the way that we believe they should be, and things like that. Like, it was a really interesting conversation that I was not expecting to come from this book. Not that this book doesn't have themes, and it is very, very critical of colonialism and imperialism. We had criticisms of the slave trade, discussions around conflicts that were happening amongst British society when it comes to people for and against the slave trade, and the impact that can have on things like friendships, the impact that can have on how you perceive your fellow countrymen, especially when you are supposed to be united in war. Like, they are up against the French, they're supposed to be united, but they are also currently in a position where they are disagreeing within the nation on something as core to the politics and the policies as slavery, and a huge part of the economy and the impacts that that has. And I thought that was really, really well discussed as well. We have actual figures from history. We have, what's his name? We have William Pitt the Younger. We have William Pitt, who is currently Prime Minister. And we also have, what's his name? The one that tried to abolish slave trade. I'll put his name up here because I can't remember. But we have some actual figures from history mentioned. Therefore, we're actually having political discourse that's relevant to the time period, which I also think is really good. We talk about actual events in history when it comes to military strategies and actual battles that have happened, which I'm really liking. So for the history nerds, it is doing a really good job with the history, and it's throwing in all of the knowledge of this time period and the history of this time period, which again, fantastic. So for the most part, I just think that for historical fiction, for dragon fantasy, it has really interesting themes, and we have really interesting dichotomies going on with the characters at the moment. It's definitely carrying me through, and I really look forward to continuing. But now I'm going to get on with finishing up my cooking, so I'll catch you in the next one. Good Good morning vlog and happy Friday. I have actually gotten ahead of the game. Actually gone lunchtime, so I don't know why I said good morning. But I have finished Twin Landing and I ended up liking this one a little bit more than the first one just because it was that little bit more plot driven and a much more immediate tension, like I was saying in the last clip, that I think really helped compel me to read. The first book did a really good job of setting up the series, so it's not that it's a better book in sense of I wish the first one had been better. It's more just like a natural progression is making me sink further into the series. Another one that I have also finished, I finished this morning, is Throne of Jade by Naomi Novik, the second Temeraire book. And this one, my thoughts are very similar to also what I was saying yesterday. One of the things about this one that I really appreciated, because I did get ahead yesterday, because I also read at night and then I read this morning, so I was going to finish this Saturday, but it's all done. I ended up also giving this one 4 stars. On Corpal it comes out at like a really high 4.5. I think it's like 2 points off being a 5-star. This was such a good next installment in the series, and if they keep improving it and immersing me more and more each time, I'm going to have such an amazing time with this series overall. This is one that I really appreciated a lot of the themes that were brought up and the way that it tackles war, colonialism, slavery. She didn't just bring stuff up and dump it there, but at the same time, because it's based on real world events, it didn't just find resolutions either. It was more there for the sake of commentary and perspective, which I really liked. We also had discussions around anger, around bonds with people, around complicated relationships as Temeraire and Lawrence's relationship becomes not more complicated in a dramatic way, but just Temeraire is getting older and is beginning to get more complex feelings and understandings of the world, and I think that that was handled remarkably. So I had an amazing time with this, and I am super glad that I have finished it, and I can't wait to chat to everyone about it in the Discord. I haven't actually been updating the Discord because I've just been too busy to actually just put my thoughts down. I've made brief notes and then I want to kind of elaborate on them. I'll probably end up having to do that during the week now because obviously weekend inbound and it's busy when you've got kids around. That does mean that today my plans are to start How to Rule an Empire and Get Away with It, which is the sequel to 16 Ways to Defend a Walled City. I had very complicated feelings about the first book, so I am very curious to see how I will feel about this sequel. I am optimistic that I will still enjoy it for what it is, and I am now hopeful that I will be able to keep an eye out for any problematic content and not just mentally make excuses for it. It's Monday. So I went out Saturday, so I didn't actually vlog. I've got b-roll that I'm sure has been incorporated, although one of them didn't. I won't be able to incorporate one of them because there was a school trip at the bookshop and there were a lot of kids in there and I don't like filming around minors, so it was only like a tiny bit that I will probably be able to incorporate. But I went book shopping. I went shopping. I went to a shopping centre and we went book shopping and that was really nice, and I got some books, so I have a haul for you, but I was too tired when I got back Saturday, and then we went to my parents to eat and it just kind of everything got away from me a bit, and that's fine. And then I spent time with my children. So then on Sunday I was going to do like a whole relax self-care kind of vibe, and we have had no water pressure, so I am being held together by Dry Shampoo. I wish they would sponsor me, so I figured I'd wrap up this vlog. I did finish How to Rule an Empire and Get Away with It. I enjoyed this book. I didn't dislike this book. I went in a bit pickier and potentially therefore a little bit more sensitive maybe to any content that might be in here. I don't think this one is as problematic as the first one, but I think that it is still very much typical series in the way that it discusses certain perspectives, and I don't think that it is setting out to be harmful, and obviously a lot of bad representation is not setting out to be harmful. I do think that it is actually trying to have discussions. It's just doing it in a really not great way. Like, it's no Brent Weeks, but it's also not handling things well, I feel. I will conclude the series soon, so I shall be able to give you better thoughts. And then last night I read Final Girls. by Myra Grant. That one was weird. I liked it. Possibly the Myra Grant I have liked the least. It was good. It was good for a novella. It's, yeah, probably the Myra Grant book I have liked the least. I think that one of the things that I really always appreciate about Myra Grant is her world building, and therefore all of the pseudoscience that comes from that and how realistic that feels. And it's not that this was necessarily lacking in realism, it was just so short. I didn't feel as immersed because of the limited page count. I'm not a huge novella person. Novellas do have the possibility of being like an absolute hit for me, like absolute new favorite, but it's very rare. With this one, it was just a little bit along the lines of, I have very specific expectations when it comes to Myra Grant now, and this one was really good, and I think I probably would have liked it more if it had been the first thing by this author I had read. Anyway, so that means that this week I did end up finishing Twin Landing, which I gave 4 stars, Throne of Jade, which I gave 4 stars, How to Rule an Empire and Get Away with It, which I gave 3 stars, and Final Girls, which I gave 3 stars. Editing Faye here has realised that I actually at no point have said what these are for the Magical Readathon, which, you know, earlier on in the week I was literally like, April is literally all about the Magical Readathon, and then didn't actually mention what any of these books are for. So for the 4 books that we have read this week, we have Twin Landing, which is for Conjuration, as the prompt was a colour wheel, and for the colour wheel I got the colour green, and even though it's mostly blue, a lot of the like accent colour of this one is green, so I took that to mean that it is still valid. The next one is How to Rule an Empire and Get Away with It, which is for Artificery, as that is a book with a key on the cover. And we have a giant key here. The coincidence of this one actually working for the prompt when I did my TBR was chef's kiss. I haven't actually managed to squeeze Throne of Jade into any prompts as of yet, so I might see if this works for the law side quest later on, so we'll leave that for now. And then the last one, which is Final Girl, which is shapeshifting, and for this one it is to read a book written by an author who blurbed your last 5-star read. Now my last 5-star read at the time was actually Innisfail, but there are no blurbs on it, so I went back for my most recent traditionally published 5-star, which was The Hollow Places by T. Kingfisher, and it was blubbed by Myra Grant. Then for my haul, I did buy 2 books while I was out. I got Certain Dark Things by Silvia Moreno Garcia because I'm really excited about Latine horror, paranormal romance, and it's got like drug cartels in it, and I think it has a romance in it, and I'm really excited. And then the other one that I have picked up is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. This is one that I have been umming and ahhing about reading because I haven't got the best track record with V.E. Schwab. So I read the, what's it called? The Archives and the Unbound, whatever that series is called. Gave it 3 stars. It was meh. I read the Shades of Magic series and it was fine. I didn't love it. It was perfectly average. I'm not a big fan of that series. It's a bit overhyped, in my opinion. Then I read the Villain series, loved it. I was not expecting to because I have not had a good time with V.E. Schwab. Read that series, loved it. So then with this one, I was like, I don't know. But a lot of people who really love V.E. Schwab seem to not like this as much. And then people who seem to not normally like V.E. Schwab seem to really like this. I'm kind of in that area of like, well, maybe I will like it because I am not a typical V.E. Schwab fan, because most people's favourites is the Shade of Magic series. So I am hopeful that I will enjoy this and will want to give this a go. So far, 2 new additions to the TBR, which I'm really excited for, especially because they're standalones. And I literally could have bought so many things while I was there. I'm really glad that I had the restraint because I had no one there to restrain me. It was just me and my teenager. So I had no one there to restrain me but my own wallet. So good girl for me for only buying 2. That is it for this vlog, which is a really weird way to sign off, but that's all I got, literally. I am a mess. I am covered in dry shampoo and deodorant, no desire to go anywhere or be seen by anyone, and yet here I am on the internet. So do with that what you will, and I will hopefully catch you in another one. I don't know how much more I'm going to be vlogging this month. I seem to just be kind of losing steam with it a little bit. I'll see if anything feels eventful enough to be worthwhile vlogging. If not, I'll just, you know, do wrap-ups or whatever. But thank you ever so much for watching, and I'll catch you in another one soon. Bye.